Hi, it's Lucy here. In my last post, Practical Steps You Can Take to Stay Happy by Effectively Managing Your Anger, I said that I would provide some help with anger management using visualization and meditation. So let's get to it, shall we? Find a place where you can sit for about 10 to 15 minutes without any interruption, and find yourself a really comfortable sitting position. Now, whether you're sitting on a cushion on the floor or you're sitting in a chair, what's really important is that you sit with your back straight. So if you need some support using some cushions behind your back, then please get yourself into that position now. So sitting with your back straight, we're now going to try and get rid of any unnecessary tension that we've got in various parts of our body. Now, one of the best ways of doing that is something that I've mentioned in a previous post. In fact, they're both things that I've mentioned in previous posts. The first is to hold a sense of softening or softly. This is a wonderful way of doing, of introducing, if you like, or removing, I should say, tension from your body. And that's by just holding the sense of softly or softness or soften. You don't really have to think about it. You don't have to imagine what it's like to be soft, but because your mind already has the associations with this word. So just holding that sense of softness, allowing it to translate right through your body so that there's this wonderful relaxation. Your body will yield quite involuntarily to this sense of softness. And thereby, the tensions that you've got often in your shoulders or your neck or your chest or your back, especially your lower back, and often without us realizing, in our hands, in our face, in the eyes, in the jaws, it'll start to dissipate once you have a sense of softness within you. The other thing that I've mentioned previously is using deep breathing. Now, this is really so effective, because when you are able to deep breathly while keeping your back straight, what you're able to do is to allow once again the free flow of energy right through your body. Okay, so as I'm speaking now, I invite you to start breathing deeply, softly, and keep your eyes closed, because that always helps to cut out a lot of visual stimulus that would otherwise be distracting you. So, breathing softly, breathing deeply, holding a sense of softness, and with your back straight, you're allowing yourself to move into a state of comfort, as well as staying alert. Okay, what I now am going to ask you to do is to bring to mind a recent experience of anger. Now, it might be anger which has been expressed quite explosively, perhaps through loud words or raised voice, or however you might express that anger. And it may be anger that has been lit, if you like, with righteous indignation. How dare you do that, such and such? How dare he have done this and that, and so on and so forth. So anger that may have been lit by righteous indignation. Or if you happen to be one of those people who will process anger a little bit differently, and that is express it a little bit differently, and that is via silent martyrdom or victimization. Where you have thoughts such as how could he have been so cruel, how could she have done that, what an awful mean thing to have said, and so on and so forth. So whichever way that anger is expressed for you, just bring to mind a recent experience of anger. Again, if you find that as you're doing this, you begin to feel pretty much all the emotions that you felt during that experience, what you can do is to once again breathe deeply. Take a few deep breaths and then continue. So with this mental image, if you like, of this recent experience of anger, I'd like you to imagine that that person that you were, see yourself, if you can, going through that experience of anger, and hold in your mind a possibility that that person who was experiencing that anger was a person caught in a moment of time, and that person caught in that moment of time has actually ceased to exist, because that moment, that person was caught in a moment that has already passed. So this is what you're doing. You're visualizing, you're recalling a recent experience of anger. You're seeing yourself going through that experience, and now sitting in this present moment, you're able to look back and see that that person was having an experience in a moment in time which no longer exists, so that that person in that experience no longer exists. And I want you to spend just a few moments getting into the reality of this truth, that you, as you are sitting here and now, are not that person in that experience. I'm going to leave you now. I'll end this particular recording, and I'll create a new file where we will continue. So just continue getting into the reality of what I've just described.